Booster's not doing great. Booster's in last. So if Sue Bird's in like second to last, Booster's right behind her. Tough.
Who's Booster?
It's my like alter ego. I would never show this publicly bracket where I just went crazy all over the place.
Who is she though?
Oh, you know exactly who she is.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. March Madness is madnessing. The Sweet 16 is set. There's so much to discuss. Sadly, including that Juju Watkins has gone down with an ACL tear. This is an injury that Megan and I have experience with, so we're definitely going to be diving into that a little bit later. It has been a great tournament, and there's a lot of highlights. You've got Plies gifting Dawn a freaking, this chain was nuts.
The tournament trophy.
Literally. So that was bananas. He was quoted as saying he just wanted to give her flowers, and that was his way of showing that. I'd say that's more than flowers, but I loved it.
I would love someone to interpret flowers as golden diamonds for me.
I know you would. I hear you loud and clear. I hear you loud and clear. One of my personal favorite moments that had absolutely nothing to do with basketball was seeing head coach Kim Barnes-Arico from Michigan rock some vintage sweaters. I'm like, this should be the new move. Forget the quarter zip.
Chef's kiss.
I get they don't want to dress up anymore. I'm like, whatever. Do you? I actually don't even care about that. A vintage sweater? I hope we see a card. I hope somebody pulls out a cardigan with like a big, if you go to Connecticut, like a big C. I'm all about that. I loved it.
You want to see Gino in a big cardigan?
Kind of.
I know. I was happy he brought back the shirt and tie.
Yeah, he's bringing it back. CD in a cardigan? I think she could pull it off. She would hate it. She would absolutely hate it.
Nah, she's got to be dressed. She's got to be dressed to the nines. She's got to be dressed to the nines. I love that too. You pointed that out when we were watching the game, and I was like, what a creative, fun, like super college way to dress for the game. It was amazing.
It's the only place it could work is college.
Yeah, no, totally. I love the fans. Honestly, there's been so many just like snapshots where the camera pulls away to the fans, and it's like a grandma next to like college students with their chests painted, next to like a family of 20, next to like the star players' entire family, next to just like screaming kids. And everybody is like losing their minds.
Yeah,
I'm loving
the turnout.
Like
the
it's
turnout's
the
been
best
great.
atmosphere.
The turnout's been great.
Especially the teams like playing on their home court. It just feels like every time any shot goes in, it's like so wild. Loving it.
Yeah. So the turnout's been amazing. Back to some basketball things that we both enjoyed. This one wasn't about enjoyment. Georgia Amoor's career is now finished. Amazing career. She's going to go on to do even better things. So it's a little bit of a sad note, especially because she missed a shot that could have potentially kept her career going. But what I loved was her perspective after the game. She was, when asked, was quoted as saying, "I'm not going to let one shot affect 5 years." And I think that's just wonderful perspective, because moments like that can be killer. So I just want to give her a shout for that, both for her response, but also just for, like I said, a really incredible career. I'm excited to see what she does next. Another thing that popped out was this video going around showing Paige Bueckers in her final game at Gamble, which she played out of her mind. She had a great game. They move on to the Sweet 16. Obviously, I'm excited about that. And then in the post-game press conference, there was this moment where she exits the podium, and then they catch Coach Auriemma in a moment where he has like a weird look on his face. He kind of rubs his nose, and it's going around the internet that he was crying. And I just want to say, as someone who played there and knows this man pretty well, ain't no fucking way he was crying. And that has nothing to do with Paige. He might go home at night and cry about this. No way was he crying on that podium in that moment. Maybe if they win the championship. No chance. I can't wait for somebody to ask him. I'm looking forward to somebody asking him about that.
Somebody needs to issue that correction stat.
You heard it here first. I say no chance he was crying. If anything, he was giving a look like, these fucking guys. That's what I caught. Like his shtick is to like be annoyed with them all the time and make fun of them. That's what I caught. So that was kind of interesting. Yeah.
I feel like I caught, are the 15 and 16 teams getting better? Although none of them won the games. There was lots of blowouts. Are they getting a little bit better?
I think overall,
I feel like it's more competitive.
I think overall, the style of play that you're seeing these lower seeds, like the 15 and the 16s play, is getting better, right? Like their talent's getting better, their athleticism's getting better. And then with that, you're seeing a brand of basketball that's even better. And yes, you make a very good point. I think back, even 5 to 10 years ago, and those games were usually like 120 to 10. I'm like not even joking. Yeah. There's been some really bad ones. And the blowouts still happened, but they took longer in the game. And I think that speaks to a rise of play. Speaking of one of those teams that blows people out, South Carolina moved on to the Sweet 16. But one of the moments that stuck out here was how Pow Pow, who played with Sydney Parrish at Oregon, kind of had a funny moment at the end. They must be homies. She had a funny moment at the end where she was like, sorry, I had to end your career. Have you ever ended a friend's career?
Oh, I mean, I don't think so. I've had a couple friends take championships off me, and that's terrible.
But end a career?
No, not end a career. I mean, no.
Yeah, no. I'm thinking. I mean, technically, if you've won a championship in college, you ended someone's career. So a senior's career. So I have done it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I will say I got to play later in life with Tanisha Wright, who went to Penn State, and we did end their season my senior year, and I really liked to bring that up as often as I could. I enjoyed that.
Drop that in.
I enjoyed that.
Drop in.
Yeah. And before we finally get to the check-in, back to basketball, the Maryland-Alabama game. I mean, what?
I was like this. Whoa.
That thing was wild. Honestly, at one point, I kind of joked. I was like, does either team want to win? Alabama gave up like a huge lead, which in regulation, which is just tough. But then Maryland up 3 with like point whatever seconds, fouls a 3-point shooter. Happened to be Sarah Ashley Barker, who dropped 45 in the game.
Wild.
The game was great. You had big plays on both sides. Shout out to Maryland for moving on, but also shout out to them for making their free throws. That was a big part of that game. But that was really exciting. That was really exciting.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah,
a lot of pressure.
It's been good. It's been a good March.
Another thing we're super excited about today, we are announcing the next episode of A Touch More live. We are having a very special guest join us. We're going to get to that later in the show. There's also a chance for y'all to get a ticket to the show, and we're going to let you know later, but we're going to get into it now. I'm Megan Rapinoe.
And I'm Sue Bird. This is A Touch More. Let's get into it. All month long, Paramount Plus celebrates Women Who Move Mountains, a special collection of series and movies spotlighting remarkable women's stories and talents in front of and behind the camera. Need a laugh? Check out comedy favorites like After Midnight, hosted by Taylor Tomlinson, as well as hit CBS comedies Elsbeth, starring Carrie Preston, and Ghosts, starring Rose McIver, all streaming on Paramount Plus. Head to ParamountPlus.com to learn more about Women Who Move Mountains. Support for A Touch More comes from our friends at Nike. March Madness is here. While the men's tournament always draws massive attention, the 2025 women's bracket is shaping up to be historic. Because on the court and on the field, we live to challenge, to dominate, to win. It's even sweeter when it's against the odds. Featuring athletes like Juju Watkins, Paige Beckers, Sophia Wilson, and Mallory Swanson, Nike's new So Win campaign celebrates the athletes who break the rules and unapologetically strive for greatness. Later in the episode, we'll listen to the campaign and share our So Win moments. Go to Nike.com to learn more and see their So Win collection. First up, the check-in. As we said earlier, we were going to get back into Juju Watkins and her injury. She suffered an ACL tear. Just real quick, Megan, what's your reaction?
Oh, I was just so bummed. I was like, man, that's just like, you're in the middle of the tournament. You're one of the stars. You know, your team's a number one. You're playing great. You're like on course for a rematch against UConn. And it's just a bummer. It's one of those injuries that's like, while it's like utterly devastating, it still feels like that. Like she's going to be totally fine. Like I've had 3 ACLs, you've had an ACL, so many players have had ACLs. So I feel like she's going to be totally fine. She'll come back. This will be a blip, you know, on her radar in the grand scheme. But I'm just like, oh, I'm bummed for her. This is just like so sad, especially as a college kid. You just like know the excitement of the tournament, all that. So I'm just bummed. What was your reaction? And oof, that clip was, just looked gross.
Yeah. So not to call you out, you went to dinner with your friends. So you weren't watching it live, but this is part of the story. No. It's part of the story. It's part of the story. You're allowed to go to dinner with your friends. I mean, I don't know why you didn't have it on your phone next to you, but no.
I know. I was engrossed in the conversation. So.
You're allowed. No, the reason I bring this up is because we have both had this injury. I'd say you even more than me, we're like pretty good at diagnosing on the spot. You're exceptional at it. Yeah, you're exceptional.
I have a PhD in diagnostics.
In TV diagnostics. Yeah.
TV diagnostics.
But honestly, as athletes, listen, I'm just going to put it out there, especially athletes who have dealt with injuries, we're like the next best thing to a doctor. Mm-hmm. If you've got something going on that's like a physical thing, like my back hurts, my neck hurts, my knee hurts, my foot hurts, I think athletes are right below doctors. I'm just going to throw that out there.
100%.
With that, I was watching live, and initially her reaction was what tipped it off, because the angle from the side, right? The usual typical TV angle, like side of the court, you couldn't get into the nitty gritty of where she planted, how the knee went, all those things. But her reaction immediately was like, uh-oh. And then also the way she planted was a little bit of an uh-oh. And then finally ESPN showed a replay. They came out of commercial and showed a replay from the front. Oh, and immediately it was like, oh, that she tore her knee up. And to be honest, not to like be scary, and I'm going to bring this up for a reason, there's a chance she did other damage. I'm not trying to diagnose for real, but there's a chance she did other damage. But to your point, Megan, you know, I think my initial thought was, fuck. Like, fuck for women's basketball, fuck for the tournament, and then fuck for Juju. Because now, you know, this marks a long rehab. This marks, you know, a test physically and mentally. But it is not the end of anything. It is just the end of this particular run. And Juju will be fine. She'll be back on the court. Yes, it's a difficult rehab, but I don't know. It also makes for, I know when I tore my ACL, it changed my life. It changed my career. It changed the trajectory for sure.
Yeah. Same.
And I was of similar age. I was a year younger. So I get that it feels like a death sentence, but if there be one thing I could tell Juju, it's not. It's not. But that doesn't take away from how awful it is right now for all the reasons. It really, you know, you already said it. She was having an amazing run. You know, our producer Jasmine pointed out, even when you watched them in the selection show, she just looked all business. And it really brings up this question of, is this a missed opportunity, right? Like Juju was about to go on a run in the NCAA tournament where she could really establish herself and put her name on the map in a different way. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do think her star was still like emerging. I think it started to come last year, obviously, with her being a freshman. And, you know, but her emerging star was obviously under Angel Reese and under Caitlin and under even Paige, I think, a little bit. And this felt like, okay, she had an incredible year. They're number one seed. She's going to be the one taking them deep into the tournament. She's on all the commercials. The bun is the bun. The bun is bunning. And she's box office for sure. And it is a little bit of a bummer, I think, just for the fan, obviously, but mostly for her, that like the stage was sort of set to be taken. I think that sort of like mantle in college basketball is a little bit still up for grabs with Caitlin and Angel being out of it. So it's a bummer for her. What I will say though, she'll be back mid next season, most likely, you know, assuming rehab and everything goes well. She's obviously missing out on this opportunity, but just the popularity of the sport in general and how it's rising, I don't see this being like a huge opportunity miss, but it is kind of a bummer where it felt like she was really separating herself and emerging as like the premier player in college basketball, and just, you know, one of the players that people talk about in women's basketball in general when they sort of speak of the growth and the rising star of it all. So I definitely agree with that this is like, dang, you were right on the cusp of properly breaking through and being a household name beyond just the fans of women's basketball. But, you know, that's life. That's sport. Again, she'll be back most likely mid next season, and hopefully being able to make another run in the tournament next year. What do you think? Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, same. I think going to a Final Four does change things for your career.
Yeah.
It just does. Yeah. There's something different about it. I think
that's millions of eyes.
Yeah. The NCAA tournament in general does. I mean, when you look at, what was it, the McNeese manager on the men's side, I think that shows the power of the NCAA tournament, which is true. Sad that she's going to miss out on it. But it really is just a blip, right? Assuming everything goes well, a blip in her career, one missed opportunity, and sadly it is a part of sports. But I don't think it changes where she's headed. It just maybe delays it for a second, just because she's going to miss it. But I don't know, when you looked around the internet after the injury happened, seeing all, you know, people were showing support, showing love on social media. I mean, she's still big. It's the stardom of it all is not going anywhere. Huge. And it was really great to see even like current NBA, WNBA players showing love for that, because obviously it's tough. But that brings us to how this USC team is going to react. They go up against Kansas State in the Sweet 16, not an easy team to play against, a lot of size inside. But Kiki played really well. She had
Kiki Irfin said, I'm still here.
Hold up. Yeah, she had 36 and 9. But what are you, like, we've all been on teams where something like this has happened. What's being said right now? If you're a player, actually, how are you feeling?
I mean, how am I feeling, or how am I saying I'm feeling?
Both.
I'm just like, we're fucked, you know? Like, it sucks. You lose your best player. It's not just that you lose your best player and you lose 28 points and this and that and the other. It's that you lose the star and the gravity with which your whole team is built to operate around. And obviously Kiki Irfin, you know, had an incredible game and stepped up, you know, 36 and 9 had an incredible game, stepped up. But it's so hard. I mean, listen, you're going to continue to do all the things. You're going to work hard. Lindsay Gottlieb is going to be telling them, you know, we are built bigger than just one player, and they're going to play as hard as they can. And I think they have a good chance still to beat Kansas State. But it's a huge blow. It's like such a devastating blow. Your team is like built around that, and you're just like, you're trying to keep positive, but I think on the inside you're like, damn, this is devastating. And you're so sad for your teammate, but then you're also just like, this is going to be near impossible. That's my honest take.
I equate it to the phases of grief. There are phases to this. Literally. Okay. The grief and loss. There are phases to it. There are just absolute phases to it. First of all, I'll start by saying that duality that you just brought up, right? And we've talked about on the show 1,000 times how two things can be true. I don't think people allow for that in moments like this in sports. They don't allow for the fact that in sports, an athlete is constantly dealing with like multiple emotions, positive, negative. Sometimes they're in conflict. It's constant. You're constantly thinking about these things. And nobody really allows for the fact that this sucks, and you think it sucks, and you know you're in trouble, and you know it's going to be hard. And also, oh, we have an opportunity. And also, we aren't just made of one player. We have a whole roster here. And it's every athlete on that team is going to be dealing with both of those at the same time. And the reason why I bring up the phases is not to be literal about it, but at some point, And what are athletes also fucking amazing at? Compartmentalizing. At some point, when the rubber hits the road and it's game time, no one's going to be thinking about Juju. They're going to have to shelf that, and they will naturally. Yep. And all they're going to be thinking about, and if I was Lindsay Gottlieb, I'd be trying to reframe it all as, yo, nobody thinks we can do this. We've just went from a number 1 seed where everyone's coming after us to now nobody thinks we can do this.
No pressure.
What a cool opportunity we have. Because if we get to the Final Four, now you thought it was a big story getting to the Final Four with Juju. Imagine what it is without. So I think, it's all this like process, it's phases. They have only a couple days to really get through it all. But yeah, it's both and. It sucks and it's a cool opportunity. It's a huge blow and you're so sad for your teammate. And now you as an individual have a chance to do something that maybe you wouldn't have been able to do. So both and. It is a bummer overall. You don't want to see it happen. That's really, yeah.
Juju,
right back to the talking point.
Yeah. Juju, we love you. Juju was one of our very first guests.
Yeah. Pre-podcast. We were just announcing our deal with Fox Media.
Sending you all the love. We have all the tips if you need it. Wishing you a really speedy recovery, and we can't wait for you to get back. So just sending you lots of love.
All month long, Paramount Plus celebrates Women Who Move Mountains, a special collection of series and movies spotlighting remarkable women's stories and talents in front of and behind the camera. The collection includes the badasses who take on covert operations, deep space, and even the afterlife in hit originals Lioness, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and School Spirits. Watch Zoe Saldana, Rebecca Romaine, Peyton List, and more in the Women Who Move Mountains collection. Head to ParamountPlus.com to learn more about Women Who Move Mountains.
Okay, let's zoom out to the rest of the tournament and specifically our bracket. Sue, do you want to tell the people the state of you and I's bracket?
Listen.
We are listening.
Our final 4 teams are still in play.
Oh, we're locked. We're good.
So we're good there. I would say I learned a pretty tough lesson this particular run. Oh. Yeah, 3 things happened to me.
Number 1.
I fell in love with, some fantasy storylines, right? Like the fantasy of a high volume scoring player carrying their team, a la, I had brought up Jackie Stiles, Plum had a great run like that. If you go on the men's side, it's like Jimmer Fredette. I kind of fell in love with the hope, and I basically picked every team that had one of those types of players. The second thing I did was I chose based on friends. Now listen, I wasn't getting texts. What I wasn't getting was text.
Your heart got involved.
What I wasn't getting was text messages from my friends being mad I didn't pick them. But what I also didn't get was wins in my bracket. Yeah. So tough lesson there. And then there was a couple choices that I forgot. I just had actual brain farts around the home court advantage of it all. Where you're like, oh my God, why? Of course I should pick this team. They're playing at home. Like, that was stupid. So there was a little bit of all those 3. So, luckily I wasn't telling anybody to bet on it. And we're good. Otherwise, we're good. And, you've been giving me some shit. You're always like, anytime a team wins, it's our bracket. And every time a team loses, it's my bracket. And I just want the people to know how locked in you have been. So here's something we're going to show them, just how totally into the games you've been, and how
even.
It's just so important. So here's Megan just locked in. UCLA in a pretty tough game given, and Megan is just locked into that Kindle. Just couldn't get her eyes off it. So,
this is such a low blow.
Are we in it together or not?
Well, my biggest and only mistake was listening to you.
Okay.
And having you drive our whole bracket. Listen, you guys, I was voraciously reading Careless People over the weekend. I had a quarter of an eye on the games. I obviously was locked in, but yeah.
Were you reading Careless People at dinner with your friends during the USC game also?
No, I already finished it.
Oh, so you had time no, I'm joking. So yeah, otherwise, listen, we're not.
No, our
killing
bracket's
it.
in a good place.
It's in a decent place.
And remember, our bracket that has USC going. Also, remember, in
what bracket is that?
Is UConn. So those teams for me were interchangeable because we have to pick UConn. But like I was really on board with USC.
You picked USC?
Yeah, in one of our brackets. It was
no.
It was
not my that's not an hour bracket thing.
Just remember, it's okay that USC's out because
they're not out.
My thought process in
they're
our
not
bracket
out. What are you
was
saying?
that USC and
USC's not out.
It's going to be tough for them to make it.
Wow.
What I'm saying is that it was interchangeable, so we basically got a twofer, so we're good.
I just want everyone to know I'm not involved in whatever Megan is talking about right now. I don't do twofers. I picked my picks. I'm taking my lumps. That's all there is to it. I did have one. I am in. So there is the bracket that we did publicly, the Together Challenge. I also did one with Capital One on the CBS.
I don't even know how many brackets you have going on.
I've got like 7 or 8. And all in the women's. And then I have one that's in the men's. And UConn lost in that. So there's that, which was a freaking tough game to watch.
Do you feel the same way that Coach Hurley feels about that?
I'm never going to say anything bad about anyone from UConn. So just don't even set me up for it.
Got it. On it.
I plead the fifth. Fifth. Okay. So I did do one bracket where I was like, for the women's side, where I was like, you know what? Let me just like go crazy. Like outside of just like fantasy or hopes, or I was like, what would be like just like bizarro world? And so I'm introducing to the world the Boo Surd bracket. And Boo Surd's not doing great either. Boo Surd's not doing great. Boo Surd's in last. So if Sue Bird's in like second to last, Boo Surd's right behind her. Tough.
Who's Boo Surd?
It's my like alter ego. I would never show this publicly bracket where I just went crazy all over the place.
Who is she though?
Oh, you know exactly who she is.
Yeah, I do.
I don't even know why you're asking. Which leads me to the reason why I'm bringing this up is ESPN has this second chance bracket. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I'm thrilled. I'm going to be hitting that one hard.
Yeah. You're going to, what do you get to just like, it gives you basically like a reset?
It's like this is who got to the Sweet 16. Now start your bracket.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. So you get to just like Men in Black yourself and totally forget the last week of games.
Keep the engagement high. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next round, let's move on. Let's get into the most exciting matchups, what you're excited for, what you have your eyes on. Break it down for us. Is it Sue breaking it down for us or is Boo breaking it down for us?
No, we're going to go straight Sue. I told you, Boo is...
Sue Bird, okay.
Boo is behind closed doors. There's really only one person that knows Boo, and that's actually Sue. You like kind of know her.
Yeah, true.
No, Boo's out. Boo's out. No.
Okay, break it down for us.
Yeah, Sweet 16 is where all the 2s and 3s meet. So I just think, the women's bracket didn't go like 100% chalk, but it went like pretty close to it. And with that, you get great matchups in the Sweet 16. Duke is playing UNC, so that jumps out for obvious reasons. They split in the regular season. NC State up against LSU. I'm excited for that one. TCU versus Notre Dame. I mean, these are like heavyweight matchups. And then, of course, UConn number 2 versus Oklahoma number 3. I mean, now we're cooking with gas. Like, this is going to be exciting. But outside of that, I do think the other matchup I have my eye on is Texas, a 1 seed, versus Tennessee, a 5 seed. They played in the regular season in January. Texas won that just by 4 points. It is 2 totally different styles. Everybody knows how we feel about Tennessee's style. Super exciting, super different. The type of style that's tough in the tournament. But Texas is not easy either. They're a tough team. They really grind it out, low scoring usually. So I'm going to be front row and center for that one. I'm excited for that one. So yeah, so those are the matchups. AZ Fudd just recently said she's coming back to UConn for another year. Megan, thoughts?
I get it. I think she's having a great tournament and showcasing the ways in which she could be really useful to a WNBA team. I don't think she's going to get anything more out of college. I don't know exactly the financial situation of these kids in college. So I feel like this is
it's a big piece of the pie that you're missing.
It's having a big impact that for some players, yes, of course, that's gonna translate and it's gonna go with them. For AZ, I don't know if that's the case. She might very well be able to make more money staying in college. And then I think there is part that's like she hasn't got to play a lot. She's, struggled with injury and maybe just wants that experience or feels like she needs more experience. I mean, I don't know, and I'm not her. But I think she should go. But I just feel like start your career. Like,
I don't have all the information. I don't. But
yeah,
I think
I have very little information, and I'm going just based on my personal vibes. But I feel like she's playing really well and showcasing right now, and she has, I would say, throughout the season, like how she could be really useful to a W team. And I feel like this could be a good moment for her to go. And also, it's a great program with a proven history of like having so many players be very successful in the W. So it's not like she's staying somewhere where she's not going to continue to get better and it's not going to be useful for her. But I don't know. What do you think? You have a lot more information and knowledge than I do on this.
No. I actually, same with the NIL. It's tough to know. And that's where, when we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, it's such an individual's decision and only they know their bank account and only they know if they've gotten their fill of college basketball or not. I actually feel similar about Olivia Miles, which we'll get to in a second. Mm-hmm. So the only other piece of information I can throw in, because I already, like I said, a couple weeks ago, did kind of the this or that of it all. Like there's this, but then there's that, but then there's this, and then there's that. So I broke it down. She was quoted as saying, something like, basically like, has she gotten enough college, right? Like Coach Ariema, I think they had a conversation in which he said, you've really only shown yourself for like 10 games in 4 years or 3 years, however long she's been there. And that I could see how that'd be like, this box does not feel checked. This college box does not feel checked for me. And like I said, there's arguments to be made for staying, arguments to be made for going. Now that she's staying, I can sit here and say she's probably getting enough money to justify it. And now she'll have another year of college to work on her game, something else she commented on, another year of college to continue to grow her brand. I mean, if her and Sarah Strong go to the Final Four next year, forget it. She'll be coming out as a super high pick. So there's something to be said about it. So to each their own, zero like critique on a decision like that. You have to make the decision for yourself. But I did bring up Olivia Miles, and I just thought it was interesting. We saw Paige Beckers grab the mic and address the crowd after her final game. You saw Olivia Miles. She hasn't made any announcements on staying or going, but did grabbing the mic and saying thank you for all you've done with your support. Do we read into that? Is that just like for the season?
I mean, I don't feel like I'm grabbing the mic and giving like a one last salute if that's not a one last salute. Like I again, with her, I'm like, what more are you getting out of college? I feel like it's hard for these players who had injuries that like took a season from them. They like want more of that college experience. But I watched a clip of Olivia Miles and I thought, she's not saying it, but everything that she's saying is like, this has been an incredible time here. Thank you guys so much. Job's not done this year, but I wanted to have the opportunity to say thank you in this environment, which she'll never get again if she's leaving. On the court, after a game, in the tournament, to her home fans. Yeah. How did you read it? That's how I read it.
It definitely, I mean, my head went up, my eyes bulged a little bit like, oh, this is interesting. We won't know till we know. But you do bring up a good point, which is just, it seems like it's the players that dealt with an injury, redshirted a year, and now they're at this point. It's hard to reduce a decision like this to just like one statement, but it does feel like it's at this point of, did I get enough of college, or am I 22, 23 years old and I need to move on? That's like really, I think, a big part.
The balance of it.
Yeah. And again, I could argue both sides, so here we are. So yeah, definitely. This is why I never can make a decision. Everyone's getting a glimpse into how I can't make decisions for shit. The only decision I could ever do was like basketball decisions, and now I'm lost. Tell me how to guard a pick and roll. I got you.
You know what always happens? I think we're on the path to making a certain decision. We've gone through so many different, scenarios, and you're amazing at this. Like, your brain works in ways mine could just never. And it's like, okay, I feel like we've gotten on the path. This is it. And so I'm like, I feel like this is what you want to do. I'm encouraging this. And then at the last moment, I'll be like, yeah, that's it. That's what I think too. And you're like, no, that's not what I think. That's just the opposite of what I think. And I'm like, this is a setup. It's a setup.
It's not a setup. It's just, listen, I got to live in here. It's hard up here.
I know.
I was going to throw that out there.
Baby. Yeah.
Before we get to our big live show announcement, just want to give a quick shout out to NYU women's basketball team. They won their second consecutive D3 championship. They did it in undefeated style both years. So now they're on a 62-0 run, which is incredible. We happen to know the head coach, Meg Barber, so we definitely want to give her a shout. Also, assistant coach Nadia Respondic, the rest of the staff, they did their thing. And it's also where we get our shots up. So we love NYU. We love the Violets. Congratulations on an epic season and capping it off with a ring.
Congrats. Okay. Live show announcement. That's breaking news music for everyone who was unsure what the hell I was doing.
Tough.
A Touch More Live is headed to the Final Four in Tampa. I'm so excited about this. We will be joined on stage by special guest Diana Taurasi. We cannot wait. You guys probably saw the first time that we interviewed Diana. It won't quite be like that, but it will be exciting and fun, and we can't wait to have our newly retired friend on. You can find the link to get the tickets in our show notes. Hopefully a lot of you will be traveling to the Final Four in Tampa, and we'll be seeing it live. So we hope to see you there. Again, you can find the link to the tickets in our show notes. Can't wait to see you guys. It's going to be a really fun one.
I'm excited. I've actually been toying with the idea of making this, because we're going to have Dee on multiple times, let's be honest, through the course of our show.
Yeah.
Like,
she's friend of the pod. And
now she's not busy anymore. It's perfect. Do we make this like a college edition, right? Like, we're at the Final Four. Dee went to 4 Final Fours. She knows a lot about that. So many memories, so many stories. Do we open this up to the mailbag as well? Do people have things they would like to hear us talk about with Dee? I'm curious about that. Overall, I'm just excited though.
Write us in the comments, whether on the socials or on YouTube. Drop your comments. What do you want us to ask Dee? What do you want to know about? I mean, her whole career, but yeah, we might keep it to the Final Four. It's a good idea. I like it.
Listen, we only have an hour, and if we open it up, they'll literally have to kick us off. So
I know. That. We don't have 5 hours.
It's a way to limit us. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. Support for this episode comes from Nike. When the world says no, athletes say yes. We win, we lead, we dominate, all while rewriting the rules of the sport and inspiring the world. Nike's So Win campaign showcases the power of audacious dreams and relentless pursuit. Let's check it out.
You can't be confident, so be confident. You can't challenge, so challenge. You can't dominate, so dominate. You can't flex, so flex. You can't fill a stadium, so fill that stadium. Whatever you do, you can't win. So win.
When have you faced a can't that felt really loud, but your drive and your work was louder?
I mean, basically my entire career as a professional athlete in this country. It's kind of a joke to say it, but I think the one moment or the one thing that I can point to is actually the CBA negotiation we went through most recently, which was 2020. We signed a new one. And for me personally, there was a lot of question marks around some of the ideas that we had as an executive committee, that we had as players. And it was that belief in that moment. I mean, people weren't literally saying you can't, but there was so much doubt around raising the max salary, around wanting certain benefits, about being a league that was going to set a blueprint, set a foundation for others to follow. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, a little bit the same. I think the equal pay fight for us was really kind of the biggest one. It was like that, and also having to be great on the field. So many people saying either we can't do it or we didn't deserve it or it was never going to get done. Seeing a commercial like this, I feel like our sort of legacy runs through it, and I can just be really proud. So really cool commercial. Love to be a part of it. Go to Nike.com to learn more and see their So Win collection.
We have a new segment that we're going to be introducing. Megan, do you want to do your little jingle? Okay, new segment alert.
New segment alert.
Okay. No, but seriously, we do have a new segment. This one is called Make It Make Sense. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but just a quick little intro. We're just going to be talking about the things that we, see in our lives, spot along the way, maybe experience, where it just doesn't really make sense, but things that happen often and frequently. And you see it and you're like, wait, what is this? And so this week's edition of Make It Make Sense, we're going to stay in the world of sports, stay in the world of March Madness even, and we're going to talk about the overrated chant. Make it make sense. When you chant the overrated chant, what I hear is, you must be overrated because you lost to us, which to me says we suck. And so I just never really
self-own.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Yeah. I know there's a flip side to it, but I just never, it always felt like, wait, you're saying that you shouldn't be beating it just, and actually I was watching a men's game and Jay Billis commented on this. And this is something that I've talked about with friends, teammates for forever, but he commented on it because he was talking about somebody who did the too small. They did the too small with the pointer and the thumb. And he was like, yeah, the too small thing is kind of like the overrated chant. You're taking away from your accomplishment. And I was like, yes. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I'm kind of like, all it says to me is you're saying, you're so bad, you lost to us. Because we're so bad. It's just like only
you must
making
be bad.
you. Yeah, you must be bad because you're losing to us. That's what it feels like. Yeah, it's self-owned by the fans. I don't think they're thinking it through.
As we were preparing, we both were talking about just like chants, heckles, and it kind of brought us to, we're taking a little bit of a left turn here.
Story time. We're going
story time. So why don't you share with the people one of your best heckle moments where you got heckled?
My best all-time heckle moment was naturally in Portland. We were playing Portland with the Seattle Reign. Obviously, that's a big rivalry. I went to school in Portland. I love Portland. I've talked about this a lot. I feel like the fans love me, but then we're on the field and it's like, yeah, no, we want to kill each other and I want to win everything. And the fans are like, no, you suck. You play for Seattle. So I scored a goal. No surprise there. Yay. I scored a goal and it was exactly. Breaking news. No, I scored a goal and it was in front of their fan section, which is notoriously amazing. Like, I'll just give them all the credit. I'm not even going to front like they aren't amazing and sort of like set the standard in women's sports for supporters groups. So I scored in front of their supporters groups. Naturally, I'm going to go gloat in front of them. So I go, over there. I think it was a free kick that I scored on. And I kind of just like put my hands out, and just like basking in the glory. And I just like catch this one fan who just is like throwing up like big double birds. There was like nothing bashful about it. It was just like, fuck you. This is bullshit. You're like celebrating in front of us. And it was just like, I just loved it so much. I was like, this is what fandom is all about. This is what sports is all about. This is like such a fun moment where it's like, it's not serious. It's like, of course we want to win the game, but it just was like, no, I'm so mad at you. And
did you do it back?
It was perfect. No, I can't do it back. Otherwise I get red carded and get sent off the game. But
that's where you actually do draw lines? You have boundaries and okay.
Yeah. We have.
I feel like I've seen you do. I feel like I've seen you do a little
flipping birds.
Yeah. Didn't you flip a bird to a ref while on the bench and you got in trouble?
No, I didn't flip a bird, but I
you used the F word.
I did use the F word.
Oh,
the only 2 times I've gotten a red card in my life. One, I was 12 and I used the F word, which I tried to lie about to my mom, and she was like, "That's ridiculous. You obviously said it."
You got a different kind of red card when you got home. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then in my season with the rain, double yellow cards. Actually, it was a double yellow. The second yellow was when I yelled something with an expletive at the ref. So
got it.
Yeah. What's your best heckle? I feel like you have a lot of heckle stories. I think basketball just like lends to it a little bit more, and you play.
Yeah, we hear it more.
What's your best heckle story?
Yeah, and us discussing, you can tell. Yeah, we just like hear more shit because they're on top of us, and it's not outside, so it doesn't get like lost to the elements even. No, this isn't like a heckle on me specifically. Although when the Seattle Storm played the Connecticut Sun in the 2004 WNBA Finals and we played at Connecticut, it was the first time I was in that state and somebody had any kind of negative energy towards me. And it really was something like, clip the bird's wings. But I couldn't believe it.
Not the gasp.
I was like, in this state? What?
Clutching pearls.
I was hurt, but I understood. No, my favorite story of crowd heckling of all time happened in college. And it didn't happen at Tennessee with 25,000 people. And it didn't happen at Notre Dame, a budding rivalry at the time. It happened at Holy Cross. I haven't looked this up, but if I had to guess, I would say Holy Cross holds 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people. It's a great college atmosphere, but a small gym. It was like standing room only. It's packed. And it started literally during stretching and our warm-ups. Their student section, the student section was behind the basket we were warming up at. It was popping from the start, like an hour out from the game. The thing was full. And here we go. The first thing was there was a guy in the student section holding a sign. And the sign said, "I don't like you." And he just screamed the entire time we were stretching and warming up, "I don't like you." And all of his friends around him would point at him and go, "He doesn't like you." And then they started like calling out people. They'd be like, "Hey, number 10, he doesn't like you." And he would just follow it up with, "I don't like you." We were so dying. Good. It was so good.
This is their game of the year. This was their national championship.
Yo, they had a guy in one of those like, not styrofoam, foam styrofoam. They had a guy in one of those foam, huge orange cowboy hats just working the sideline. The whole game, working the sideline. Talking shit to us, getting the crowd going. All light and fun because, let's be honest, the score didn't allow for like too much shit talking. So it was more just like I said, heckling and like hazing a little bit. Okay. So that was the start of the game. So then the game gets going. And they're doing some cute chants, right? Like Holy Cross. They're doing the "God's on our side." Okay, cool. I'm sure they do that to everybody.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, they're chanting, "Safety school, safety school." And the best part about this moment was I had a bunch of teammates say to me, "What does that mean?" And in my head, I was like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
That tracks.
But you know what? We don't have to apply like that. Our safety
No.
school situation's a little different. So that was hilarious. But this final story is really just what sets it apart. We're shooting a free throw. As a point guard, I'm never on the free throw line. I'm always somewhere at half court. And the bench is behind me, right? So we're shooting at the basket opposite our bench. I look back to Coach Auriemma, as point guards have to do at Connecticut, to see what defense we're going to be in. So I look back, glance over. I see Coach Auriemma in his classic stance. He's just sitting, elbows on his knees, hands on his face, holding his chin up. And above him, I see a student with a sign. The sign is being held directly over Coach Auriemma's head, okay? The sign has an arrow pointing down, and it reads, "I just farted." I don't think there is a better heckle that ever did exist.
Did you laugh on the court?
Absolutely. Everybody laughed. It was like anybody who saw it laughed. It took the coaches a second, but then it was like pointing, like, I think you need to look above you. Chris Daly, to this day, it's like one of her favorite stories. It was a good one.
Good.
So wherever those Holy Cross students, probably circa year, I don't even know, 2000, wherever you are, well done. Well done.
Bravo and brava. All right, y'all. We have some responses in from the Bicker of the Week last week, which, to remind you, was how we could tee it up in two different ways. I missed the back of Sue's arm when I was putting her sunscreen on vacation, or Sue missed telling me to get the back of her arm and also her back when I was putting her sunscreen on vacation. So we're going to get into some of these responses, and the results are in. At Hannah Roderick, Sue, shouldn't you be able to put sunscreen on your own arms front to back? Question mark, exclamation point, question mark.
Am I answering this now, or we want to just run through?
All right, we're going to run through it. Another YouTube comment. With my husband, I have to be specific with where to put the sunscreen. If I'm not, I end up like Sue. Be specific, Sue. Okay, I resent being compared to this person's husband. I don't want that. This feels like a cell phone to me while they're trying to own you, but I'm like, this feels like a no.
I feel like I'm holding my tongue. I already have so many things to say.
Yeah. Okay, another YouTube comment. But I'm with Megan. The arms, you can take care of yourself. You could have completely gotten care of those, taking care of those, and the legs before lying down in the first place. Those are the top comments. Sue, the floor is yours.
I think what people are not understanding, which is fine and fair, because maybe we didn't explain it, and maybe this is not how they lay out. Megan, what is my rule on sunscreen when you put it on and you're going to go lay on your back?
You don't put it on the back first because it rubs off.
Listen, this is not doctor approved. I'm just like, wait, I'm going to be laying on my back. So why am I going to put it on now when I'm probably going to be sweaty? It's going to come off. So I just don't.
It is something that I do know very well.
You do know this. Now, I hear you.
This.
Could I get it on the back of my arms? Sure. But regardless, I've now been laying on my back, so my front is exposed for 90% of my day. We know this also.
Yeah,
so then when when I'm flipping, I need a whole hose down.
Yeah.
I need a full, complete.
You need to be like put through the car wash of sunscreen.
Yeah. This isn't like at the start, I'm like, getting myself going to lay on my stomach. So I just want to establish that. So really, I get it. Some people, I hear what they're saying. It's good points. It's not about arguing the point. Here's my question, Megan. Given the way we roll when we go on vacation, do you feel like you messed up or not?
Yeah. I do. I feel like
if I missed your arm, I would
your arm.
also feel. If I missed your arm, okay, actually, here's the better way. If I missed your arm, Would you feel like I messed up?
I would be pissed. I'd be like, you missed my fucking arm. How'd you miss my GD arm?
But
That's
I do
what
get
I would
it.
be saying.
Thanks everyone for your tips on how to put sunscreen on. I'll be taking those to my next vacation. No, I'm joking. Oh man.
Gosh.
Yeah, so I get it. It goes both ways. But yeah, you got compared to a husband.
Yeah, devastating. Yeah, what really came out of this was that my behavior is compared to a husband. That's just not where I want to be. That's not where I want to be. It really isn't.
But you know what? In the world of Bickers, you can have this one.
Yeah, we can maybe half own this one.
Nah,
we can share in the responsibility.
I'm just waiting for somebody like they invented spray tans. When are they going to invent that for sunscreen application? Just like put me in a booth, spray me down, and we're good. A month.
And it just lasts. Can I take a sunscreen pill? Like, what are we doing?
Sunscreen pills.
What are we doing?
Yeah. No,
right?
Whoa, that was next level. Yeah.
Like, where's our technology? Anyways, we do want to invite you, and we're very excited about this. We are going to be having a mailbag episode, an AMA, if you will. So we want to invite you to ask us anything. Send in your questions. You can call us at 1-866-A-TOUCH-8. You can get into our comments or DM us on socials. You can write comments on our YouTube page. Send them in. We want all your questions. Nothing is off limits unless it is, and then we're just going to take it out. But you know what I mean? Send them in. We're excited about this. We haven't really done this before. We want to hear what you guys want to hear about, things that you want us to talk about, questions that you have for us, anything that you want us to cover. So leave a comment on YouTube for this episode. Watch the space as we dive into your questions. We're both actually really excited about this. Sue, anything you want to add for this?
No, looking forward to it.
All right.
I think you nailed it.
Let's go.
All right.
Give us our questions, y'all.
Just a touch more, a little bit.
Just a touch more.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to a touch more. For this week's A Touch More, I'm going to talk about Unrivaled again. We've already established the ways in which Unrivaled is changing the landscape of women's basketball, especially because of when it's played. And they recently came out with some numbers, posted some things. And the one that jumped out to me was the player brands, right? So players, there was a plus 947,000 in combined player social follower growth between January and March. That means almost 1 million more people are following WNBA players right now on their socials. And, you know, like I said, Unrivaled kind of fixed a couple things in terms of off-season basketball, but what it's really starting to do is fix that whole out of sight, out of mind that we were dealing with because we were all going overseas for so long. So now we're inside, we're in mind, and you can see it in this type of growth. So shout out to them. Yeah, last but not least for me, Marine Johannes signing back with the New York Liberty. You know, Megan, I know this is one of your favorite athletes, so I know you want to give her a special message.
Marine. Bon retour à New York. La ville est très animée. J'ai besoin de cours de français. D'accord? She knows what I mean. Maybe other people will. I'm very excited to have the one-legged assassin back in New York and back in the WNBA. The last thing of what I said was, I need lessons in French. Okay.
Lily.
And like she needs to do it for me. So Marine, bienvenue à New York. Again.
My favorite part was just how you like really nailed a French accent and then came back to English with New York. Voulez-vous de New York? But also
Marine,
this is
bon retour à New York.
Yeah, sounds
Is that
yeah.
it?
Hamburger. Get into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly.
it.
Let's go for the hamburgers. Yeah.
Just so that people know,
Anyways.
this is actually an ongoing exchange between Megan and Marine. We'll do voice notes with her where they speak French, and it's
Listen,
hilarious.
sorry, I speak French. I mean,
I know.
Geez.
Yeah, you're bad.
Yeah. I know. My bad. Okay, my little part of the A Touch More this week. Unfortunately, over the weekend, one of the games, Barbara Banda was once again subjected to just some horrible and transphobic and racist and just like hateful language from fans. The New York Times and The Athletic via Meg Linehan reported on this. We've talked about this before. This game was against Gotham in Orlando City. It was at Gotham, so in Harrison, New Jersey. This has been our point the whole time in talking about the rhetoric around trans athletes and just transphobia in general, whether they're competing or not. This rhetoric has been a gateway into hate speech and into division and rolling back the rights for trans people in general, not even trans athletes. And people have used trans athletes as a talking point to sow this division and to have a gateway to just use hateful language and to do all these things that they're doing around it. Because Barbara Banda is not a trans athlete. Like, just reminding everyone, she's not a trans athlete. But this fan was feeling empowered to spew this hate speech at a women's soccer event, at a women's sporting event. Because we're not just talking about trans athletes. Now we're talking about like what type of woman is allowed to play in the eyes of this one fan. So just to be clear, Barbara Banda is a woman. And I would just like to add, who's protecting her? So much of the conversation has been like, we need to protect women and girls. We need to protect women and girls. Well, Barbara Banda is a woman. And who's protecting her? And having fans yell hateful language from the stands is never going to protect women and girls. It's not going to protect them on the field. It's not going to protect the women and girls who are in the stands, who, you know, maybe eventually want to play in the NWSL or some other women's professional sporting league. It doesn't make any of the fans feel safe. It doesn't make anything better. So we just want to continue to highlight this and bring this up, that trans athletes and this like conversation around women's sports is being hijacked just in order to spew hate speech basically and to sow division. And it was never about protecting women and girls. And this is just a perfect example of this. So this is great reporting by Meg Linehan. Both teams have issued statements. The league has issued a statement. I know that they were on it in that way. We'll obviously continue to talk about this, unfortunately, as this continues to be an issue, but just wanted to say that. And, we hope that Barbara's doing okay. I know this is just like awful to be on the receiving end of, and we're just sending love to her. And that's it for our episode, everybody. We will see you next week.
Paramount Plus celebrates Women Who Move Mountains, a special collection of series and movies spotlighting remarkable women's stories and talents. The collection includes all of your favorite leading ladies, including Academy Award-winning actresses Michelle Yeoh, Kathy Bates, and Helen Mirren. Watch Yeoh as Emperor Philippa Georgiou in Section 31, the newest addition to the Star Trek universe. Don't miss Bates in the reimagining of Matlock, and catch Mirren as she defends the Dutton legacy in the newest season of 1923. Head to ParamountPlus.com to learn more about Women Who Move Mountains.
Thanks to Nike for supporting A Touch More. March Madness is here. Don't make the mistake of missing out on the women's tournament this year, because this year's bracket is the one to watch. Nike's So Win campaign features athletes competing in this year's March Madness, as well as the NWSL, and we've loved sharing its message. It spotlights the power of an athlete mindset. How, when someone says you can't, you just do it. You just win. By sharing the unfiltered stories of Nike athletes, they hope to inspire a new generation to chase their own greatness and shatter the status quo. I know we'll be cheering them on from here. Go to Nike.com to learn more and see their So Win collection.